The NTSB is digging deeper into fatal crashes involving Ford's Blue Crews. On this week's episode of the Automotive News Shift podcast, I'm joined by Kristen Poland, Deputy Director of the NTSB's Office of Highway Safety.
When a crash does occur, what's our awareness of these types of systems? Because we're seeing those differences across the manufacturers.
We talk about why the agency is investigating the 2024 Blue Crews crashes, including what's different about regulating hands-free Level 2 and how camera-based driver monitoring was inadequate in these cases. I'm Molly Boygon. Join me on Shift, available this Sunday, wherever you get your podcasts.
Experience more profitable end-to-end inventory management, pricing precision with real shopper data, efficient sourcing aligned to your strategy, AI-powered vehicle descriptions that save time and drive engagement. Experience more with vAuto by Cox Automotive.
Welcome to Daily Drive for Friday, April 10th, 2026. I'm Kellen Walker in Las Vegas. Today on the show, Volkswagen ends U.S. production of the ID4 electric crossover. Tesla is reportedly developing a smaller, cheaper SUV, and Cars.com lays off 11% of its workforce. Plus, we'll get a preview of this year's Automotive News Top 150 dealership groups.
We want to be the best supplier to the customer we can be. We want to be the absolute best employer to the employee we can be. And if we do those three things, eventually we'll get taken care of.
Let's run through all the news you need to know to keep up in the auto industry. Volkswagen is ending ID4 production in Chattanooga mid-April. It's another sign the EV market is hitting the brakes after federal tax credits ended. The company says a future ID4 is still in the cards for North America, but for now, they're not saying when or where it'll be built. Instead, VW is doubling down on what it's actually selling, the Atlas. The redesigned 2027 model launches this summer as the automaker shifts to higher volume vehicles that can sustain growth. We'll have more on this story in a minute with our own Jack Walsworth. Meanwhile, Tesla is developing a new, smaller, cheaper electric SUV. That's according to 4 people familiar with the matter who spoke with Reuters. The compact SUV would be about 14 feet long, noticeably shorter than the Model Y. And here's the key part. Tesla wants to price it substantially lower than the Model 3 sedan, which starts at $37,000 in the U.S. 3 sources say production would happen at Tesla's Shanghai factory, but don't expect to see it this year. And Cars.com is laying off about 11% of its workforce. It's part of new CEO Toby Hartman's push to streamline the company. The cuts hit management especially hard. About 20% of the jobs being eliminated are management positions, including 2 executive roles. The company's also flattening its reporting structure to speed up decision-making. Cars.com says the restructuring will save $25 to $30 million a year starting in 2027. It plans to finish the layoffs early in the second quarter. And those are today's headlines. You can find more details on all those stories at autonews.com. Joining me now to talk about the ID4 production halt is our own Jack Walsworth, who covers Volkswagen Group and its brands for us at Automotive News. Jack, welcome back to Daily Drive.
Hi, Kel. Good to be here.
All right, Jack. So VW says a future ID4 is still planned. How realistic is that given what we're seeing across the industry right now?
Yeah, I would say it's very realistic. It's worth remembering that in this moment, EVs in the U.S. aren't super popular, but Volkswagen, of course, is a global company. They sell the ID4 in other markets. It's also made in Germany. Our colleagues at Automobile Volca have reported that the ID4 will get facelifted this year and also will become the ID Tiguan because Volkswagen is changing their naming strategy. So I think further down the road, it seems plausible that the next iteration of the ID4 or the ID Tiguan will come to the U.S. There are some pockets in this country where EVs are popular. Like where I live in Seattle, I see ID4s all the time. They're fairly common. And I would imagine Volkswagen would probably like to keep some of those customers in the brand fold. When and how that looks is the big question. It might be kind of a longer wait. They're importing a vehicle from Germany. It's probably not the best timing given the whole tariff situation. So maybe it's something that happens down the road. Volkswagen hasn't said where that future ID4 will be built. It seems unlikely that they would bring production back to the US because of the volumes are so low. But again, it's kind of a wait and see. But I would be more surprised if it was gone for good than it coming back, I guess is how I would put it.
The workers in Chattanooga recently ratified their first ever UAW contract. Now, any word on if that has anything to do with this decision, and what does this mean for the Chattanooga plant and its workers?
Yeah, so Volkswagen in their comments yesterday, it was very clear that this was about, focusing on higher volumes like the Atlas, which was just redesigned, and also acknowledging that the EV market is very challenged. So I took that as this had nothing to do with the union vote. One thing that is interesting is back when the tentative agreement was announced, the UAW noted that between Volkswagen's most recent proposal and the tentative agreement, the UAW was able to add some language that there was some future product commitments. And that was something that Volkswagen did mention when this was announced, that they are looking for pathways to add additional nameplates to Chattanooga. So long story short, I think longer term, this could probably be a good thing for Chattanooga and the people that work there, because in theory, if they're adding another nameplate, it's going to be something that's built in higher volumes, that's more in demand. That probably means busier lines, more shifts, things like that. It's probably not great right now because some people probably have to get moved around within the plant. And the UAW did point out that workers becoming UAW members probably save some jobs or save people from getting what they called left behind. So, short term, probably not great when the plant loses a product, but longer term, if it is replaced with something that's higher volume or something that's more profitable, that's probably a win for Volkswagen, the UAW, and the people that work in Chattanooga.
Perfect. Jack, thank you so much for joining me.
Yep, anytime.
Coming up, we'll preview this year's Automotive News Top 150 Dealership Groups. That's next on Daily Drive.
Are you a dealer creating a workplace culture your employees are proud to be part of? Applications are now open for the 2026 Automotive News Best Dealerships to Work For program. This isn't just an award, it's a chance to get real insight into what's working at your dealership and where you can improve. And we've expanded the categories this year, recognizing everything from technician experience and leadership development to AI enablement and employee retention. The registration deadline is April 17th. Find out more and apply at autonews.com.
Running a dealership today isn't just about finding the right cars. It's about finding the right cars consistently, efficiently, and at the right price, while the market keeps shifting around you. Inventory management has become more complex. Vehicles come from more sources, margins are tighter, and every buying decision carries more risk than it used to. Yet, too often, inventory decisions are still made with fragmented data, disconnected tools, and limited visibility into what's actually working. The most successful dealerships are approaching inventory differently. They're managing it as a system, not a series of one-off decisions. They're looking at market data, demand signals, pricing, and acquisition opportunities together, so every move is more informed and more intentional. When inventory is managed end-to-end, teams spend less time reacting and more time acting. They can see what's selling, what's stalling, and where the next opportunity is coming from. That clarity helps reduce aging, improve turn, and protect profitability. The right vehicles are out there. The difference is having a smarter, more connected way to find them, price them, and move them. Learn how dealerships are rethinking inventory management with vAuto and what a more confident, data-driven approach can do for your business.
Welcome back to Daily Drive. I'm Kellen Walker. Every year, Automotive News ranks the top 150 U.S.-based dealership groups by new vehicle retail sales. Our own Rudy Shork and Riley Hodder previewed this year's list, which you'll be able to find on autonews.com and the Automotive News print edition next week.
Every year, Automotive News ranks the top 150 U.S.-based dealership groups by new vehicle retail sales. Our top 150 package offers a snapshot into these groups. But this year, we did more than just tell you where groups landed on the list. The top 150 dealership group package is about what changed, what the data reveals, and what those shifts may say about the auto retail market. Alongside the rankings, we at Automotive News take a look at some of the biggest themes behind the list. This year, those themes included competition, consolidation, store growth, and the different ways dealership groups are driving performance. The rankings are the starting point, but we go deeper into the stories behind the numbers. This year's data showed that adding stores was not the only path to growth. Some dealership groups increased new vehicle sales without significantly changing their store counts. That tension is one of the key storylines running through this year's package. We also take a look at how groups compare in different ways. We go beyond overall size and help show how dealership groups are performing at the store level. The dealership leaders that we interviewed for this year's package talk about how they approach performance as a product of culture, consistency, and long-term thinking, not just scale.
We want to be the best supplier to the customer we can be. We want to be the absolute best employer to the employee we can be. And if we do those three things, eventually we'll get taken care of.
Brian McCafferty is the owner of One Automotive. He spoke with our own John Hutter.
So it's this focus on believing in those principles, never wavering from them ever. And I mean never, ever. My next door neighbor comes in, buys a car, he pays what everybody else is paying. We say we're never going to charge over MSRP for a car. COVID comes, we get a GRMN. It's one of a couple hundred cars on the planet. We're not charging over sticker for the car.
Huh.
But can I give you this as an example?
Yeah, please.
One of my favorite examples. The GRMN came out and everyone's like, well, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? We're leaving 20 grand on the table. And actually my guys don't even think like that. My guys are like, how do you want to handle this? And I'm like, why don't we invite the street racing crowd into our store? Let's have an event where we invite the guys that would want to buy this car, and let's have a raffle, and whoever wins the raffle gets to buy it for MSRP.
Huh.
So we had hundreds of people come to this car show, and there were 8 guys that put their name in a hat that said, hey, if I can buy this for MSRP, I'll buy it right now.
Yeah.
And put the name in the hat, pulled the name out. The guy bought it, traded in a car. We sold his trade on the spot.
Yeah.
We sold like 8 other cars to people that were there. They were just blown away that, John, they're just blown away that in this world right now, there's something real and authentic. And I tell you what, I have a team that is so bought into what we do that what I always preach to my guys is that if we can provide this unique experience to the factory, to the customer, and to the employee, we will achieve a level of sustainability in our customer base that few others have.
That's just one example of how some groups are defining success on their own terms, and why this package is worth looking beyond the list itself. Our reporting also raises a broader question. How much growth comes from getting bigger, and how much can come from execution at the store level?
Things like consolidation or things like that in the market, not really a concern or anything like that, or...
Dude, every time a guy gets bigger, he gets weaker.
Huh. Yeah.
The bigger everybody gets, they have to manage to the lowest common denominator. I get to handpick excellence.
Yeah.
So I can pick the best guy in the world and explore his potential with him versus, hey, I just need you to suck and be mediocre so nobody else feels bad and we don't rock the boat. Because if you become smarter than the guys at corporate, that's a threat.
Our reporting also raises a broader question. How much growth comes from getting bigger, and how much can come from execution at the store level? That's one perspective, not a universal rule. But it speaks to one of the debates we explored in this year's coverage. This conversation is more important than ever as the industry continues to consolidate. We also highlight dealership groups that emphasize long-term customer relationships, service, and operating discipline as part of their performance. Those voices show what some operators believe drives strong results over time, and what might have driven the changes you see in our top 150 list.
Automotive news retail reporter Paige Hodder spoke with Geronimo Esteve, President and CEO of Headquarter Automotive.
So is there a particular part of your guys' operation that you feel is really strong from a revenue perspective?
I think that what takes us apart from other automobile dealerships is that I think that we have great people, outstanding people that do not look short term, but we're always looking long term, long term answers, long term relationships. So yesterday happened maybe 4 years ago, and tomorrow happened maybe 3 years ago. But it was part of the history of the company and the commitment for customer relations, and all of that things. We're human, nice people, so we like to deal with human, nice people, and I think I might be overtaken, but I think that we're probably the only Toyota dealer for the area that has won the J.D. Power's Excellent or Diamond Award for the last 7 years, and that's not But that was not hard for us because that's the way that we do business. We like to make friends. We like to establish relationship. Our sales team, they're not salespeople. They're account relationship managers. So we want to be next to those customers live. We want to be able to help them out. We want to invite them to come, drop by and drink free coffee or whatever. And that's our forte. The companies that probably sell more than we do, but we don't want to be the biggest. We just want to be the best.
That mindset appears throughout this year's rankings. Many of our top 150 dealers believe performance is shaped not just by size, but by consistency, customer retention, and long-term execution. Those strengths show up especially clearly in service and customer loyalty in some cases.
So another metric that you guys also performed really well on was revenue per store.
Right.
Obviously, new sales drive revenue, but what other areas are really strong for you guys in terms of revenue?
I think that we're very strong with service.
Mm-hmm.
We have a lot of customer loyalty. We have a lot of service that we have taken out of other same brand dealers. And again, it boils down to the way that we treat people. One of our philosophies in service area, and again, all of these are very simple, is that we look at service like going to the dentist. You want to get in and out fast. You want it not to hurt. And if you're coming in for a cleansing, there's no need to put implants, which was the philosophy that still happens in the industry, and that's, we're honest, hardworking family company. We like to do what's right, but it's usually service.
Beyond the rankings and analysis, we also take a look at how dealership groups can be considered for the top 150 list and what goes into the reporting behind it. That gives readers a behind-the-scenes look at how the project comes together each year. Taken together, the package offers a broader view of the dealership's landscape right now, from the rankings themselves to the growth strategies, competitive pressures, and operating approaches shaping the market. This is just a taste of some of the themes behind this year's top 150 dealership groups package. For the full rankings, deeper analysis, interactive tools, and additional reporting, visit autonews.com.
You can find the 2026 Automotive News Top 150 Dealership Groups list next week and join us for a live talk about the list at 1 p.m. Eastern Time on Monday, April 13th. That's Daily Drive for today. I'm Kellen Walker. Thanks to Automotive News executive producer Jake Neer, as well as our own Jack Walsworth and Mark Homer for their reporting for today's podcast. You can get the latest news on auto retail, Volkswagen's EV strategy, and everything happening in the auto industry at autonews.com. Come back over the weekend for our Weekend Drive edition of the show. Our own Larry Velaquette and Michael Martinez talk about the week's biggest news stories, including whether Buick's plan to put out a new sedan could mean a broader comeback for that segment in the U.S.
It was a stupid decision to get out of it in the first place. And I'm not just singling GM out here. I'm talking about GM and Ford and the others that abandoned the segment, because you look, there is still plenty of consumer demand.
We'd love to hear from you. Let us know what you think of the show and the topics we covered today. Send us an email at dailydrive@autonews.com or leave us a voicemail at 313-444-2774. And if you enjoy the podcast, remember to like, leave a review, and subscribe so you never miss an episode.